Okay, there we go. Welcome to the wonderful Music, Motivation, and Mindset. My name's John Parker, and tonight I got a really cool guest for us to listen to, Mr. Eddie Dean. So I am going to bring him on right now. So let's say a big hello to Mr. Eddie Dean. Well, add him to the stream there. There you go. What's up, Eddie?
Hi, John. How are you?
Let me give you a little applause there.
I haven't had an applause in a while. That sounds good.
There you go. So what's going on? I haven't seen you in probably 2 years, I think. I mean, Winter Music Conference, I think, was the last time I saw you.
That's where we would normally run into each other. So we didn't go last year. So I guess we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary of not seeing each other.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we won't be there this year, it looks like. So
it doesn't seem that way.
No. So, well, we'll definitely have to do something maybe during the summer when some of this lifts a little bit, you know?
Yeah, hopefully by then I'm cautiously optimistic we'll be
I don't blame you. We all have to be a little cautiously optimistic right now.
I'm saying that a lot lately.
Yeah, well. So what I want to do is you have a long history in the nightlife business in New York and actually around the world now. So what I want to know is, like, how did you first get started in nightlife?
Well, I get that. That's a question I get asked a lot. And I got in it by accident, truthfully accident. When I got out of school, you know, I like guys in like the early 80s, everyone was working on, well, it was mid 80s actually, I got out of college. Everyone was, going to Wall Street. And, I was never a conventional guy, never go with the flow guy. I was always hustling, trying to, I guess, entrepreneurial before I really understood what entrepreneurial was. That was always me. And, I had some opportunities and, nothing that really I felt good about. And I got into real estate. I just, read a lot, and I always saw the guys that were successful. One thing in common, they all had real estate. So I wanted to learn about real estate, wound up moving to Brooklyn. Way before Brooklyn was cool. And
hold on a minute there. I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I didn't meet you yet. I met you a little later. That's when it started getting cool. But I got into the whole real estate thing, and I was learning a lot, and I loved it. I really loved it. It was like exactly what I wanted to do, and I was learning all facets of real estate. And by chance, one day, one of the guys in my office invited me to go to a lunch meeting. And he was a retired cop. He was a retired saloon owner. After he retired, he became a bar owner, and he sold it. And then he was sort of semi-retired. He was working in my office part-time. I sat with him. He's an older guy, a little bit of a mentor, great guy. Joe is his name. And I went along with him one day to go see some of his friends that were in a bar business, and they were struggling. The two guys were arguing with one another, fighting. And I went along and I sat off to the side. And essentially what they were asking was, would you come in as our partner, Joe, and sort of like, manage us in the place? And I'm thinking they're going, oh my gosh, I know I'm new at this, but that doesn't sound like a good idea. And, lo and behold, we went to our lunch afterwards, like we normally would. And he says, what do you think, Eddie? Should I do it? I said, are you crazy? Those guys are never going to change. And by the end of our lunch meeting, he says, you ought to take this place over. I said, I don't know. I don't have any money. I don't know. And he says, no, you'd be good at this. I said, no, Joe, I want to do real estate. And he actually said to me, he says, no, I promise you, if you do this, you will never look back. He goes, you will be good at this. And, it's funny. I tried to track him down a few years ago, and very sadly, I found out he passed away. And I was really upset because I wanted to thank him, because really, he's the one who, kicked me pants. I always wanted to have my own business. I never dreamed Cocktails and Dreams, Tom Cruise. I was never that guy. I want to own my own club. So that was never something in the equation. So it was really Joe that really pushed me. And, luckily I found a vocation that my skill set would work. So, the rest is history.
That's cool. What was the first place that you owned in Brooklyn?
The first place was Faces, which was up on 5th Avenue and 79th. And in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, yep. And I was 25 at the time. I opened it on my 26th birthday, I remember. That's why I'll never forget my first day in business. It was January 19th, 1990. And my birthday is the 20th. So, at midnight, so every year. So that makes it, this will be 32 years.
Wow.
As an owner. I bartended and did some part-time stuff prior to that. But, as an owner, I've been, in the business for 32 years now, which is a long time.
No,
in New
that's
York,
great.
it's a long time.
Well, yeah, because New York guys don't last that long. It's usually they're in and out, and not many
I've
can.
been very lucky, man. I've been very lucky to have some good spots, and been lucky to have some great people around me, and teams. I've worked with a lot of different groups over the years, as you would know more than anybody. And you were kind of there, pretty much almost day one. A couple years later, 5, 6 years into it is when we first connected.
Yeah. For those don't know, I actually DJ'd for Eddie for 5 years.
Well, that's what I have to say. Not only that, do people know? Do you remember your first DJ booth for me? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah.
At Jock?
Yeah.
It was a closet.
Yeah.
There was a closet on the side. It was literally a closet, and we stuck a little turntable set up in there, and you and Carrie Van from there.
But the best thing about that was you're right on the floor. It's like a room in the middle of everything, and nobody can bother you because you shut the door and
exactly. You're locked in. You didn't have to worry about requests.
Yeah, it was perfect.
That was, and a lot of people worked back there in those days. Different guys that came through, and one that automatically comes to name is DJ Boris. Boris, he worked with a group of promoters. A bunch of the Brooklyn guys. And back then, at that time, they would work for me on a Thursday night. And then Friday and Saturday, they would all work for Peter Gation at Limelight. And, back then, the Palladium, a ton of all those places. And they were all working for Peter Gation. So what would happen is we would have all these guys that would party in the city, and there'd be a battle in Limelight one night, 18th Avenue guys versus the 13th, and it'd be about, and then they wouldn't see each other. And on Thursday, they would all come to my club in Bay Ridge, and I'd be like, what? And next thing, the fireworks, and I would have to deal with that every Thursday, trying to referee all these guys, settling the score from the previous weekend.
No, what I loved is, as an owner, you never see the owner standing outside in front of the place, but you always did. You were always right out in front.
Yes, I actually had lunch about a month ago, right before the holidays, with my 2 security guards. And I don't know if you remember Billy. Billy always wore the cut off the fingers, the gloves. And Mark, real big guy, Mark. And we went to lunch up by me up here in Bern County. And just reminding and just going through stories. And, at Pasha, I had 30, 40 bouncers. So if there's a problem, you get suffocated quick. Back then, it was 2 guys and me. So, if you had 5-on-5, it was man, we had our hands full.
Yeah.
That was by far, let me tell you, people would always come to the club in this city, Pasha, and they'd see this massive 4-story club, and they would say, how do you manage? How do you run this? And I would always say, you have no idea. I mean it. Nothing was harder, more difficult than running those places in Bay Ridge. Running Pasha was a walk in the park compared to running those places in that era.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, I remember one night at Ruby's, the bouncer Tommy went to break up a fight, and some other guys coming behind him with a bottle. I had to grab the guy and come out of the booth to grab the guy because it's there's no one else to help them.
It's all hands on deck. The DJs, the bar packs, everyone. It was, look, Brooklyn in its heyday back then, and it's just funny when you compare it. I just basically with the club like Pasha, I just had so much more help there. I had managers and I had security, and it was a much bigger team. So look, unless you had a fight of 100 on 100. Generally, fights are a couple guys, So you just and frankly, it's funny. I'm talking Pasha. In the 10+ years we were there, I can hardly think of a single incident that even compared to anything that happened in Brooklyn in terms of fights in bars.
Yeah.
There was hardly an issue.
Yeah, no, there were some vicious ones in Brooklyn. It's just, I guess you said it, neighborhood guys just going at it. You know what I mean? It's just, it's crazy.
Ongoing problems over years, older brothers and younger brothers. And,
right.
Oh man, it was crazy, man.
Like the Hatfields and McCoys.
I had, I had a situation that, I had gotten rid of a couple of promoters that had been sandbagging me. They worked well with me for a while, and then they just, after warning, I said, "Fossil guys, you're out, you're fired."
Mhm.
And, they ran with sort of a little bit of a rough crew. And I just had my first child, my oldest daughter, Rayanne. And my wife calls me. She says, I think someone just broke a window downstairs. It's like, what? At that time, I lived 5 minutes from the bar. I flew home and someone threw a rock through my freaking front window.
I remember that.
The things that they did everything they could, to try to push your out. But as you know, we fixed the window and went back to work. We dealt with
Keep
it.
going.
And, we came back again. I said, you can't get in. I'm sorry. It was crazy time.
No, without a doubt. And you mentioned bars before, but also I remember like when I would take a day off or a weekend off or whatever, you'd have like DJ Riz come in.
Yeah. I'm still friendly with Riz. We still do fantasy football together every year. I beat his pants again this year if he's listening. He actually knows. He really knows his football, Riz, and he's a huge Oakland Raider fan, a Las Vegas Raider fan. He tends to draft too many Raiders, and they haven't been great the last couple years. So he sort of puts himself in a bad spot. But Riz. You talk about a guy that was ahead of his time. Yeah. To me, he's one of my favorite guys. I've used him for personal shows, like for family stuff. I love the guy. When I was out in China with Macau, he was one of the guys I brought down there. Let's just automatic. We got to get Riz down there. Absolutely revere him. He's one of my favorite people in the business. Never mind talent. He's just a tremendous person. I love him.
That's big because for you to feel that way about someone is besides just being a DJ or a friend. That's important.
Yeah, ultimate respect for him. He's fantastic.
Cool. All right. Let's shout out to Lou B 516. He's listening. Says the legend, best of the best.
He doesn't miss a trick, that Lou B.
There you go. Bruce Reiner, he's out there in Vegas. He said, "How blue are my headphones? Very blue."
Are they Met headphones, John? I know you're a big Met fan.
No, they're actually they're Monster headphones. They're Adidas. I got these a while ago. They gave them to me, so I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
If you get some orange New York logo that could pass as New York Met.
I'm in.
Headphone.
I am in. All right, so you had 3 places in Brooklyn. You had Faces, Rockin' Jocks, and Ruby's. And then you decided to get out of Brooklyn and make the move into Manhattan. So what caused that, and how was that experience?
Well, that was I was at one of my initial crossroads in the business. I had the 3 spots. The neighborhood started changing. It was just the run-ins with the PD, and I know a lot of those guys. They were always great with me. Yeah. But it just the neighborhood was just changing demographically. There was always so many bars in Bay Ridge. There was sort of like less. A lot of the cops, firemen that sort of made up the community, they moved out. It got so expensive. So I just kind of saw it changing. And then I remember having a meeting with my wife. I went home one day and I said, if I'm going to stay in this business, I really have to think about making a move into the city. And I resisted for many years. I had quite a few opportunities. I was invited to be partners on big projects. And I just was never comfortable. I just knew what I had. And I was still a fairly young guy. I'm married. I just had a new baby. And I was being like cautiously, optimistic then too. But it came a point where I just thought that if I'm going to stay in the game, I think I got to take a hard look at the city. And I did. And I looked at a whole bunch of places, and by accident, again, one day I was going to see a place, and a guy that I was talking to about teaming up with at the time said, "Hey, meet me down on 19th Street. He did some consulting work, and he had a client that wanted to go see a spot. And I said, okay. I park in front of the place, and I'm waiting. We're running behind. We're going to be late for my appointment. So I went inside, and I walked in, and I was like, holy shit. I looked around, and I said, from outside, it didn't look this big. High ceilings, the back. And I said, wow. With that, my buddy comes out with his client, and the client was apologizing. "I'm so sorry I wasted your time. This is not what I'm looking for." I immediately said, "Hey, do you mind if I take a closer look?"
Yeah.
Go ahead. And within a couple of weeks, we took it over, and that became Hush on 17 West 19th Street, which our very good mutual friend, Carrie Vance, I'm not sure if you were involved. We did the last club performance of Daft Punk there. Do you remember that?
Really? I don't remember that. I was at Virgin at that time, yeah.
So it was Carrie, and listen, I'm embarrassed to say, man, I kind of hurt. I had no idea. We're talking 2000,
Yeah, 2000,
and it was a
2000.
record
Yeah.
release. Whatever their album was in around 2000, I forget the
Yep.
name. And they came and they did their record release.
Yeah.
Carrie, and then when they blew up and Coachella, all that stuff, Carrie said to me, "Do you remember?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, holy shit,
Right. See?
I was also in Ibiza a couple summers ago. I think it was a David Guetta show at Ushuaia, the big outdoor nightclub on the beach out in Ibiza. And I was with my daughter, actually. We were walking around and checking out, and there's opening acts are on. And I see, okay, here comes Dave. David's coming in. I want to go say hello and everything. And then someone the next day says that Daft Punk opened. They didn't have their helmets. And
Oh, okay.
I didn't even know who. I didn't even, how would I recognize it? Yeah, I wouldn't know. And so yeah, a couple near misses there. But yeah, that was my first spot in the city, and I had that. We ran it as a supper club. We were a supper club long before anyone was there. Great restaurant, great food. The chef John Tizar went on to a lot of success. After that, down in Texas, he's one of the foremost top chefs down in Texas these days.
Wow.
Yeah, he's done very well for himself.
Wasn't one of them Mariah Carey's chef?
I think you're. Well, yeah, I think you're right. He did work for her prior to me, but he also was in the Anthony Bourdain, the famous chef. He would come in and interview John, and then ultimately in Kitchen Confidential, there's a whole chapter about John in there about how he's like the most talented chef and this and that.
Oh, that's cool.
We ran it that way, and then it just the club. I was learning as much as I had success in Brooklyn all those years. I still had to pay my dues in the city. I was still learning the ropes, and I knew a lot of guys, but we made some mistakes, and I just felt like that it was time to change. I felt we were sort of going down a path that it was just sort of like a rudderless ship, let's say, and so 9/11 hit. And that sort of was the impetus that we closed for, some time, and then we reopened, but 19th, we were right above the blacked out zone. And I came up with this concept of the Stone Pony in Jersey, right? Where Bruce will go and play. And I wanted to create an intimate place where I could bring the biggest DJs in the world on an amazing sound system with a real true fans. That was sort of my inspiration to do it. And then I turned it into discotheque. And that's when I really stepped up and started dealing with a lot of the bigger names. And of course, Eric Murillo did Subliminal there. And then Eric, when he would be away or on a tour, it was every Thursday we did it. Eric would have someone fill in for maybe David Morales, it'd be Roger Sanchez, or it'd be Benny Benassi, Carl Cox. And so that's when I really started getting into it, there. And then I opened up Tiki Room, the little lounge.
Right. I wasn't sure which one came first.
Yeah, Tiki Room came a little later, but it was right around the same time. I opened Tiki Room in May of 2001, before 9/11, and then I redid Hush into discotheque, and then in 04, 05, I got a call about to run down out of business big spot that used to be Sound Factory. And I went, and again, I was at a crossroads. I was really considering getting back into real estate. I was burnt out, health department, building department, fire department. I was just so tired of it and the relentless onslaught, and I wound up going up looking, and I walked in, I said, I think, I'm a big sports guy.
Yeah.
The competitive part of me took over, right? I start with a little bar in Bay Ridge and kind of work my way up. I get to the city. I've done theme bars. I've done lounges. I did a little club. It was a little hard to resist to take on the big club, And
give it that shot.
I remember my partner at the time, Rob Fernandez, RIP, we miss Rob every day. I remember telling him, I was going to the SLA to reapply and try to get the liquor license reinstalled, and we didn't know what to expect. And again, it was on my birthday, January 20th. And
lucky day.
I expect this really crazy battle, and approve. And all of a sudden, I was like, holy shit. holy shit. Now I got to open up a night. Like up to then, it's all fun and games, you know? It's
Yeah,
like,
because you think, I'll get rejected.
I remember calling Rob, and he was like, "Oh my God, you're kidding me! How are we going to fill this place?" You know, like, "Oh my God, you know what he's going to do?"
Right.
And he lived right down the block at the time, and he was renting. He was going to move. He goes, "Hold on, I got to go call my broker. I got to go cancel my rental deal." You know, and he literally lived 2 blocks up.
That's funny.
Off to the races with Pasha, yeah.
No, that was great. And Rob was such a big help in that. I mean, he was like the ultimate club promoter out there and had so many ideas for you. And
you know, a lot of people. I remember when I brought Rob on to be my right hand, I got like a lot of industry guys said, "Well, what do you know? Why? Like, why Rob?" But you know, there's other maybe bigger names at the time. There's sexier names out there, guys with better credentials. I just loved Rob. I just, you know, we connected, and Rob was a huge sports guy too.
Was he? I didn't know that.
A huge Met fan. He grew up right by the stadium. Huge Knick fan. You know, and a huge boxing fan. You know, that's probably his number one thing. But you know, Rob, you know, I just respected him because I just watched how people reacted to him. His credibility with like the industry and the way other DJs, the way they would talk to him. And at that time, he played a large role in Eric's, I guess, his image, right? Like he would help Eric with the names of the albums and the art on the albums, how Eric was dressing for photo shoots. Like he had a lot of influence on Eric. He had so much street cred, let's say. And look, right. I'm a guy from Brooklyn. I knew I couldn't do it all myself. And he may not, like, again, I don't want to say names or recommend it to me, but I never looked back, you know, and Rob and I, we banged heads over the year all the time. Like when it came to business, you know, he saw things one way, I saw him another. And I really felt like we brought the best out of one another. And, you know, I guess, you know, history speaks for itself, you know, like it worked. You know, I do curse him out to this day. Like, how'd you leave me here? Like to take on this game by myself. Like, you know, he was such an important guy in what we did. And, you know, he influenced so many people, as you saw. When he passed away, as like a celebrity passed. Like he was trending on all socials. And, you know, I don't know too many guys in our business that will get that reaction. That's how well liked and respected Rob was.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, he was the friendliest guy. I never heard him say a mean word about anyone. I mean, you know, he was really cool. So, and I didn't meet him all that many times. I met him whenever I came to see you, but you know, it was like,
I have a great photo that I have in my office at the house of me and him in a Mets game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I remember he dragged me. I didn't want to leave work, and it was opening day. I forget what year it was, a while ago. I mean, it was probably early 2000s, like 15, 16 years ago. And it was so, it's such a great photo, man. I just look at it and I just love it. You know, it's great stuff.
That's good. Serves as inspiration too, going forward, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, okay. Anybody who worked with Rob finds himself at one time or another going, "What do you think Rob would do here?" You know, that's. I mean, his head, like he was legendary for, like, you could say, like, let's say it's 2015, and you could say something about any artist, and he'd say, "Well, 12 years ago on a Thursday night, at, you know, club whatever." He'd say it was good, but it rained. It would have been better. Like his knowledge of dates. And artist track record in history, you know, again, there's nobody that had that in that brain like he did.
No, he definitely.
Probably he never wrote anything down and never answered emails, but that's another story.
You know, when you got it all up in here, why do you need to do that?
Exactly. Well, at one point at Pasha, like our whole phone system crashed, and no one could fix it. We all tried to fix it. No one could do it, and we had to call a company in. And he says, "Whose extension? Like 7004." Oh, it's Rob. Oh, he has 3,000 messages on his phone. Like, something ridiculous, you know, whatever it was. You know, it shut down. He never answered. He never checked.
That is so funny. That's great.
He's a promoter. Believe me.
Can you imagine going through those messages and all the big names that were on there, like waiting for the call back?
there's stories. Like, I remember being in Ibiza one time. We're in the nightclub, and I can't recall. It was a big DJ, and he's like, "When am I going to play New York?" And I was like, "Look, and we're drinking, we're hanging out. I'm like, go talk to Rob." And Rob's got like a tie around his head, like that. And he's like, "No, don't make me. No, like, don't make me." And I would always pull gags. Like, there'd be guys that I know that drove Rob nuts. I would tell him, "Okay, yeah, you're good to go. Just confirm everything with Rob." And they'd call him, and he said it's okay. And then he would turn around and do shit like that to me with guys like Kyle Promoter. I know, Rob, it's okay. Like, so we had a lot of fun, giving each other the business over the years. Like, a lot of funny stories like that.
That's really great. Cool. Say hello to a few other people joining us. It's Mazzoni212. I'm sure you know him. Shouted you out.
I do. That's a good friend of mine, Alex. Hey, Alex.
There you go. Jay Dobby watching says, "Wow, what a great story." Sean Foley over in Jersey. Cadazzo, is that how you say that? Cadizzle. There you go. Very cool. So now at Pasha, you formed a really great relationship with Avicii. How did that come about?
Well, when he was a young guy, I remember, again, it's another Ibiza connect. I'm sitting in a restaurant in Ibiza with my wife and kids, and I'm looking, and there's a Swedish House Mafia poster next to me. And on the bottom, I see Avicii. I'm texting Rob, "Who's Avicii? What are you talking about?" And we had already booked him at the club, Avicii, but I was just, I don't know, Avicii. I didn't know how Avicii was spelled,
Right.
And so we, I want to say we did his first gig. I think it was. We'd have to really double check that, but he may have done one or two other shows. I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Well, it was his first big show was at Pasha, and it sold really, really well. And you just knew that it was something special. And what I remember is him sort of being uncomfortable that first time he played because he's a producer. Yeah. He wasn't really a DJ, and he got through the show, and the reaction, I mean, it was just crazy. So at that point, we immediately built a relationship with his manager, Ash. Mm-hmm. His agent was David Brady from Spin Agency.
Oh, I know David. Yeah.
Yep, David. Yep. And, we knew David, had a relationship with David. So he trusted us. I mean, we had, at that time, the biggest platform in New York. So everything made sense. And they knew that they had something special. So they sort of entrusted us. And they really wanted to blow him up. And they basically said, "Look, we want to do the Hamptons, the Jersey Shore. We want to do, everywhere." So we were booking him everywhere. And everything was selling out, tremendous shows. And then something funny happened. Electric Zoo. Again, I forget what year this was. They apparently made a very, very low offer. Okay. And David and Ash, the manager, were insulted, get lost, no way. So they were in town that weekend. And I went to Electric Zoo with them. And we were walking around the grounds. It was me and Rob, David, and Ash. And Ash is just like, I can't believe these guys are so insulting. He says, "We have to do something. We got to do something." And he said, "Find the biggest place you can find for New Year's Eve. I want to do the biggest party ever." So I was like, "Listen, it's New York City. You have to get permits and license, all this."
Right.
And he was like, "I don't care. Get it done." So we went to dinner that night after the festival, and he wouldn't stop talking about it. So I said, "I have an idea." We finished dinner. We got in my car, and we drove up the West Side Highway. And I brought him to Pier 94.
Okay.
Right. And it's a massive hangar. It's for the cruise ship terminal. And they had renovated all of them. This one hadn't been renovated. And I had been approached a couple of years earlier by a representative from New York City Economic Development saying, "Hey, do you think you could do shows here?" And at that time, it wasn't ready. So I said, "Let me see if these guys still around." I call them on a Saturday night. We're outside the place. I'm with these guys.
3 a.m.
And I said, "I got something." And we met on Monday, and we hammered out a deal. And it was actually funny. This was when the Swedes were going to do Madison Square Garden. So we always talked to them, and we knew what the Swedish House Mafia guys are planning, their announcement and everything. And we all said, we got to go on sale right away before they go on sale. Because what if we don't sell the tickets? We didn't know how many tickets were. We had no idea. So we fast track everything. And because we had such a close relationship with the manager and the agent, it was no problem. So just get it done. Well, there's one thing. I didn't tell anybody. We don't have any freaking permits. I got the okay from the venue. We still have to get permits and sign-offs and all this shit.
Right.
So I'm going, oh my gosh, this is, you know me. I'm like,
just go.
We'll figure that out. And we went on sale. And again, to me, this is a game-changing part of what we do and then how this has become. If anybody remembers, it crashed our ticket site. We had a backup site. It crashed that. And we were only allowed to sell 7,500 tickets.
Okay.
So we're at this time, we'd never seen anything like this. So my tech guy's going, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. And it's like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes later, everybody comes back up again. And we sold like 9,200 tickets.
Oh, no.
We're oversold. Oh, my God. What are we, I'm having a heart attack. But the point was, we sold 9,000 tickets, whatever it was, in minutes.
Wow.
And then, I don't know, about a day or two later, the Swedish House Mafia, they took the show down. They rescheduled their on sale because they saw that. They're like, holy shit. Now they're thinking, what if we don't sell out the Garden?
Right.
At this time, it was just the Wild West. Nobody knew. And you just think about that for a second.
Yeah.
And that sale for the Swedes not go so well. Who knows what would have transpired after that?
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Sure.
I'm on there. I'm on a flight. I'm going to Ibiza. I'm in Barcelona or Madrid, and I'm flying to Ibiza. So I get on. It's only, I guess from Madrid, it's a 40-minute flight, 50-minute flight.
Okay.
I get on a, small plane, and who comes in and sits next to me? Steve Angelo and Axwell, right next to me. Steve immediately, did you really sell those tickets? Did you really sell them? Did they sell that fast? Are you paying him $1 million? I heard you're paying him $1 million. Like, he was all about his business, And it was funny. Axwell goes to sleep, and Steve
he doesn't care.
He's asking all these questions, And I was like, "No, Steve, we did. We sold that many. I swear to God." And then that's history. They went on sale. They sold out. They did fantastic, and really, that just lifted everything. And I really believe those shows. Remember, John, at that point, all this dance music stuff, right? It was mainstream. It wasn't on the radio. Live Nation wasn't booking it. They looked down their nose at it. They didn't know what's going on, And I believe that show, and again, the set is on YouTube, Avicii from Pier 94. People, you see, there's a lot of listens on that. And, Geronimo, we broadcast live with Sirius XM that night. And, I look back at those videos once in a while, and I just think, by the way, we did not get the official approval sign off till about 6 o'clock on New Year's Eve.
Up until then, what do you do? You're just like, what do we do?
I went to dinner with my wife. I said, we're just not going to go back.
Have the car running.
Look, I mean, it wasn't. It's sort of that's procedure. They want to see your setup and everything, and make sure that what you presented to them is what you built. It was really, it was risky. But I guess we're promoters. We always got to do what it takes sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Without a doubt. That's so funny, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you've done the Manhattan thing. You've done some, specialty shows, special events around the area. Now you decide to move back to Brooklyn. How does that happen?
Well, when Pasha, was coming to an end, we saw the writing on the wall. And, it's very funny. This is one of the arguments Rob and I had. People don't really know this. You get a liquor license for 3 years and then you renew it, right? I wanted to end Pasha after 9 years and go out on top.
Okay.
And people said, oh, they're losing their lease. They're building a Marriott hotel. That was all noise and garbage. I had a few years left of my lease and an extension that was verbally agreed to. When I closed, I still had about 5 years left, technically, on my lease. But people don't understand all that stuff. They all make up stories and whatever. But the truth was, me and Rob got into it. Typical Robbie's like, wait a second. Why wouldn't we do 10 years? But for me, I'm signing the checks. And I saw the sales of the artists going like this and flatten and then start coming down a bit. The business was changing more towards a concert format.
Okay.
Everyone coming with the pictures. Well, Pasha was a traditional club, New York City, 4-story warehouse. So our business, our model was, I saw it timing out. Like, this is not going to be sustainable. And I wanted to end on a positive note, a controlled ending, as they say. Like, how many clubs have we seen? Almost every one of them go down the toilet at the end, doing crappy garbage parties. And it's just sad. I said, we had such a tremendous run. I'm going to end this on a positive note on our terms. And so we got into Rob, and I was like, this is the perfect time. I don't have to renew the liquor license, all that stuff. And he talked me into, like, he could talk you into anything when he really wanted to, Rob. And he says, no, we're going to do 10-year anniversary, and we're going to do 10 shows, 10 nights in a row, and we'll end it with, like, Danny Tenaglia, a real big New York guy, So unfortunately, in the middle of all that planning is when Rob passed away. So now I'm like, holy shit, right? We have to get through all that and, manage through all that. And then we did, if you remember, we did that really big fundraiser for him.
Yep.
And then, we had about 4, 5, 6 shows, and then we called it quits. And I just wasn't done. I just felt like I had a couple of really good people that worked for Rob and I just felt like, if the right opportunity came along, I don't want something this big, the headaches. And the opportunity in Brooklyn, Williamsburg was popular. It was, really at the time, was sort of where things were really happening, is in Williamsburg. And so it's very funny, some of the comments, and they're like, the competitors and haters, oh, here comes Pasha to Brooklyn's going to ruin Brooklyn. I want to say, F you. Like, I started in Brooklyn. Like, when you were in Iowa, like you're in Wisconsin, or you're down, like, I started here, and it was pretty funny, sort of transformation. But I will tell you, Brooklyn's not the same. I mean, it's worked well for us. We've done a lot of great shows at Szymanski. We're very diversified lineup. I have a great staff there. I kept a couple of my good people from Pasha. And that also allows me to do my concerts. I have my lead guys. So that's to keep the team together. It all made sense. It's a hell of a commute from Bergen County.
It sure is. That's funny. Now, one of the things I always loved about, your spot now with Szymanski's and the stuff you're doing there is you would come up with, like, people to play there that I'd never heard of before. And I'm like, who are these people? And you're just selling the place out, like, left and right. And it's like, so where do you what's your way of finding these people to get that?
Well, over the years, I gotta say, it started really in Ibiza, right? Way before, like, look, before I opened Pasha, I never heard of Ibiza. I knew Eric Murillo went away every summer to play somewhere in Europe, and I'd be so happy because he wouldn't be yelling at me all the time, like he's here. And then he'd come back in the fall and then back to business. But I remember when I was looking to do the club, I was like, I want to do something unique, special. It led me to the whole Pasha thing, and Eric was instrumental in that. But going over there, I mean, the best one was probably Danny Avila, Avila. I was at a show, and my wife was with all of our friends' wives, like the housewives of Ibiza, like 5, 6, and they're all, like little schoolgirls, talking. And I walk over, what's going on? What are you guys talking about? And one of the women says, oh no, there's this really gorgeous, beautiful young DJs playing at Pasha tonight. We all want to go. So I said, who? What?
Right? Yeah.
And and Tiesto had brought him under his wing initially, and when Tiesto had his residency at Pasha Ibiza, he had Danny as like a 18-year-old boy open for him. So we get to Pasha that night, and Rob was with me on that trip, and it's like 4 a.m. and we make our way to the booth, and then I go in, I have Danny Avila in a headlock. He doesn't know who I am. I'm hardly a waif, right? I get in the booth. It's like at 4 a.m, and I hit it off with Danny right away. And then like the next day, I went to like one of these day restaurant club places over there, and Danny happened to be playing. Total coincidence. And I went over and I said, "Hey, listen, I hope I didn't scare you." Like, we had a lot of laughs.
Right.
And we connected, and I text messaged Scott Greenstein at Sirius XM. And he was always hitting me up.
He's into the music, yeah.
He really is. And I said, Scott, I think I got something on. I get home a week or so later, 2 weeks later, and I'm driving to work one day, and Danny Avila's got his own show on Sirius XM. I'm like, wait a minute. What the heck? I said,
how'd that happen?
Pretty fast. Scott contacted him the next day and had him on the air within days.
That's amazing.
So that was it. And I used to have guys in Vegas, telling me, I remember I was at Win one night, and one of the kids at Win are telling me in the club, they're like, we just watch what you guys book, especially stuff we never heard of before, and we just make them an offer.
See?
And again, and Rob, was a student, and a lot of promoters and kids that work for me. We had such a huge team
base.
Yeah. I remember Dead Mouse, right? My in-house tech guy came to me and he says, "You guys ought to book this guy, Dead Mao 5." Right?
Yeah, we didn't know how to say the name back then.
And we did book him, and he opened for James Zabiela.
Yeah.
And we I'm sure that flyer. I think I have it. It's around. But that's we had a lot of fun. The Martinez brothers were playing in the upper room, like in the upstairs Pachita, the small room that night. There was, that was used to have like I remember we had Nicky Romero open for Calvin Harris one night. Steve Aoki opening for Benny. Like we just didn't have enough days to get all these guys.
Get everybody in.
I remember our first or our second Halloween, we had Steve Angelo open for David Guetta at Pasha. And then Eric came on in his heyday. And then Danny closed. That was those four guys. That was a Friday or Saturday night at Pasha.
Yeah, and it ended on Monday morning.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Those four guys, that's a festival tent.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's great. Yeah, no, great. That's wild. Say what's up to a few people. Niv Shacked?
Number one VIP guy.
There you go.
Let's see. Big guy in the business there.
I am Ice Drop. Another one of your friends. Eddie's the best.
He must be.
Ray says, growing up Pasha.
All right, I have to that's my daughter.
Oh, there you go.
Hence growing up Pasha.
Yeah. What do we got? Jay Sparkle, 29. Sandra is on there. Yeah. So very cool. All right. So you're in Brooklyn. You get a shot at doing this Eric Pridge show, which is this insane holographic show. I mean, tell me a little bit about that, because I still watch those videos because it's totally insane.
I know. And I'm not going to lie. I love to check out. Before we came on, I was talking to a friend of mine in LA. And I said, just go. I was just telling him to go check it out. Well, we've worked with Eric in the past. We've done some shows with him. I know his manager quite well, Mick, who's one of the most, arguably one of the most demanding managers in the business. And to work with that team, and this isn't to minimize all the other great guys out there, because this game, the bar has been raised so high with these performances, right?
Yeah.
But Mick and his team, just the imagery, like they create all the video, all that content, and they edit it live. They produce it live, I should say. They build a library of stuff. And you go one night, like he played 3 nights in a row, and all 3 nights they had different content to the songs. I mean, the songs are generally the same, but they would mix up the orders. They would mix up, the content. And so if you went all 3 nights, you saw 3 different shows. But when Pier 94 stopped doing shows, they just, it's the city, and they just didn't want to have big shows. That's one of the problems in New York. They didn't know, like anywhere else in the world, Miami, Chicago, they shut down Chicago for Lollapalooza. New York is just sort of like it's like everything's an uphill battle. And, I discovered this place in the Bronx, and it's in Hunts Point in the Bronx. The only thing in Hunts Point in the Bronx, and I hate to say it, before this was HBO did a special, like the hookers up on point.
Right.
And then in the Bronx, the Chamber of Commerce, they were up in arms and furious. It was such a, but like, that's what it was. And I'm like, oh my God, I looked at this building. I fell in love with it. Like, it is a massive warehouse, and it's right on the water. You look across the water, you see Rikers Island. It's like, and I'm thinking, how, like, will people come here? And I got my first show I did there, believe it or not, was Travis Scott.
Wow.
He was in between tours. I had booked him. He opened up for the Chainsmokers and another one of our legendary New Year's Eve shows at Pier 94. Those are some great videos too, before he made it really big.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah, that's a great one. Look, Travis Scott, Pier 94, those videos. But his agent, she's a real tough one, and he was going to do a show for us at Pier 94 the previous year, and then there was some stuff between the agencies, and the show fell through. So very honorably, they agreed to do this Halloween show, and there's a big documentary. I think it's on Netflix. They used a lot of the footage from our show in that documentary. It was great. And I've never had my heart in my throat at a show. And I've done well over 1,000, maybe 2,000 shows. I mean, over the years, I have no idea. But the crowd was just so rambunctious. There was not one. There was 10. Little, like the circles where they have, and it was just crazy, man. And it was a tremendous show. He posted on his socials, that was the greatest night of my life, was what he said.
Wow.
So from that, we had great footage. I started showing to guys, and all the dance guys are hesitant. The Bronx, people aren't going to want to go there. A couple weeks, I guess it was during New Year's week, I did Zed's Dead tour. And that's all younger, totally different crowd. Yep. And we sold it all. We sold 7,000, 8,000 tickets, whatever it was. And I was like, okay, if that worked, I think we really got something. So then, I reached out because I knew that they were looking to do that show somewhere in the country. And I wasn't just competing against other venues in New York City for that show for Eric. They were looking at LA, Miami. But the trick was I really stayed on the manager, and I convinced him to come see the venue. He didn't come. He sent his ops guys, his tech guys.
Right.
I didn't know this right away, but at a later date, they came back and told me of all the venues that they looked at around the world, this was the best structured venue for what they wanted to do for that show.
Wow.
So when they told that to the manager, the next time the manager's in town, I took a ride up with him, and the agent is Paul Morris, as you know, from Paradigm, who's one of the top agents in the world. And they were like, wow, this is a pretty cool venue. And, again, rest is history. We sold out 3 shows. If you remember, that was in one day.
Oh, yeah. No, that went quick. Yeah.
And again, that was a big eye opener. So, now you have everybody calling up there, everyone's trying to do the venue, but we focus our efforts up there on Halloween and New Year's.
Okay. The big dates.
We did Above and Beyond for New Year's, which again, that crowd's been around, they're loyal, and they didn't care. They went, and I'm going to tell you, not a bad review.
Yeah.
No one said, oh my God, the Bronx, the parking, not one. We scoured everything. No one.
Yeah.
If you have a good show and it's run well, people take Uber. They take Uber.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Nowadays, sure. Well, you've got a great team around you, and you know what you're doing. So that's really what matters.
That was it was as epic as they would say. Epic
there you
show.
go.
Yeah, really.
Now you've done other stuff. You brought EDC to New York. You helped produce that show.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, where haven't you been? But you've been to Queens, so you only have Staten Island left.
Well, if you remember, I did do some shows in Staten Island.
Did you?
I did when I had some. It was a time where my spots in Brooklyn got a little hot. There were some issues going on, and we took the show on the road, and we did. Maybe it was a couple of months. It was a steakhouse that we cleared out all the furniture, and it was like a little shopping center, and we packed that out too.
That's great.
I would have been in about. Oh boy, 97, 98, 96, 97, 90, man, like around then. So yeah, Staten Island, Bronx, Manhattan.
Yeah,
we did them all. We did them all. Queens. We did Citi Field in Queens.
Yeah.
Did EDC there 2 years, I think, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
We did that there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then the last thing you did, like event-wise for new things, was that the Coney Island thing you were trying to put together?
Yeah, we got into that late in the season. We wound up. Actually, I think the first year I think we wound up not doing anything, and then last year we managed to do one show. We don't own or control that venue. It was like a deal, and it was just getting on the same page with the venue. It was just very frustrating because I felt, I've always been a Coney Island fan, and we've had success down there. We have done some shows down there that have worked over the years. But it just, if you don't have a cooperative venue, it's just hard to really, it's everything. Every part of these shows have to work together. You
Right.
can't just have one area break down. It's just so it's unfortunate. Maybe we take another look at it, but it was at the art walls down there, and we put a whole plan together, and we got some interest. The problem the first year was, these big acts that sell a couple thousand tickets, they book a year in advance. So the deal came together in like May. So, we were in a patchwork, a few events together, and then it just got to be like, who wants the brain damage? And then we start talking about the following year, and it led into the same thing. This discussions going nowhere. And then, like I said, we managed to do one show, So the venues were afraid. They want to control their own venue. Okay. But, if you get a team like ours with our track record and our history, you got to give us a little space to do our thing. And, they would turn around. We what about this date? Oh, no, it's booked now. Well, I can't go out there and put and influence and pressure an artist and a manager and agent to do something, to go back and tell them, that happens once. And they're like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
So
100%.
Yeah, that was a little waste of time there. But I always keep my eye on Coney Island. I just think that there's opportunity there. And, I won't give up on Coney. I'm looking at a couple ideas. So
okay, cool.
We'll see.
You actually have done some stuff out of the country. You took Pasha in somewhere in China. I don't know how to pronounce that one, but
Macau.
What was Macau? Okay, there you go. How is that experience? Is it a totally different way of doing business out there than it is here? Or
everything you hear about China is true lately. It's very hard. It's very hard. You talk, you have positive meetings, and then it goes nowhere. It just doesn't go anywhere. And like, wait a minute, we talked about it. And they were building a new property down there, and I was really excited to work with Lawrence Ho. He's about maybe 43, 44 now, but he was like his late 30s, and he owns casinos. And like, this guy was so successful. He's from a family, a very wealthy, successful family from China, and particularly Macau, the whole family. And, it was a pleasure working. He was such a smart guy, a nice guy. I loved working with him. But they just do business in a certain way there, and everything's about like respect, and like everyone's waiting around for someone else to make a decision and tell them what to do. And we really weren't given a budget. I mean, I brought Paris Hilton in to do the first. Like, they had done pool parties down there, but I did a Vegas style pool party, and I put the whole thing together, and it was tremendous. It was great. It was so good. And they just, next week, we started talking about, it was like a series of 3 pool parties. They're complaining like they'd never seen anything like that. I'd been to the prior pool parties out there, and they were just not that good. They were just not good. And this felt like Vegas, and Paris Hilton was fantastic. She did a great job. She was so great with the fans. She had hosted afterwards in the club that night. She was just great. And it was so much great PR for the place. And they just never capitalized, and they just never. I had Afrojack down there. The place was exploding. I'm like, we could do this every week. They just didn't want to pay anybody, and it got frustrating. Our hands were tied. In other words, it was a 3-year deal. We ran for the 3 years. I opened a club in China. Who would have ever thought? One day I'm here, and next thing I'm on a ferry in the middle of the South China Sea. Going, what am I doing?
Looking around like, where am I?
I'm a bar owner from Brooklyn. Like, well, this is crazy, But
I'm going back to real estate,
Yeah. I met a lot of great people out there. I made a lot of new friends. I learned a lot about the culture and, and business out there, but it was very, very much different. And the main thing is, Vegas really embraces non-gaming culture, right? They make a lot of money from those pools and the clubs. It's widely reported. The spas, the restaurants, the shows. Out there, if you're at the pool or if you're drinking in the club, you're not gambling. It's 99.9% gambling.
Yeah.
And so to them, it was almost like a trophy to have Pasha, I guess, for the grand opening. But they didn't want to make the club work, I don't think. And I was warned about that. By the way, I had guys in the industry that, big guys, without mentioning names, that, have places around the world that I spoke to, and they all said, yeah, we passed on Macau. They were right. They're right.
Yeah, no,
it's a great experience. I'm really glad I did it. It was a great segue, honestly, between, when I was closing Pasha and then, sort of segueing over to opening the club in Brooklyn. It was perfect, so it worked. It was great.
That's good. You come across artists that go on tour, do shows, whatever. They've got a lot of outrageous demands in their riders. Do you come across any crazy ones? You don't have to name names. Just what do they ask for?
Yeah, well, I guess over the years, it's very funny. Like that is something that my staff always kept from me because they knew I would go nuts. You know, so they really would hide that from me. And occasionally, I never liked to go in the dressing room and harass these guys. I like to say, and a couple of guys over the years I became very friendly with. Guys from the early days. I mean, the cars, like stuff like that, like you get them a car, they want a bigger car. There's only two of them, like stuff like that, but nothing outrageous. I mean, some guys, they want a lot of stuff and then they don't touch it. Like, so it's like, what are we doing here? Like a certain kind of grief. And then there are guys, one group, they wanted, 2 pairs of, like custom sneakers each. So there's 2 of them. I wanted 4. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. So there are things like that, like hotel requests, like, I want 6 rooms. No. So, you get stuff like that. Like when Eric Pridge brings his whole team over, we have 10 rooms. I mean, that's, that's different, but at the club, there's a lot of goofy stuff, like, purposely stupid stuff. One thing is I happen to love a certain Pinot Noir that I have to give credit to David Brady, Avicii's agent, Sea Smoke. It's an amazing, beautiful, great Pinot Noir wine. And I went to dinner one night with Paul Morris and Tiesto before one of our shows, and it was at a place that I know didn't have great wine. So I asked the owner if he'd mind if I bring a few bottles. And I brought a few bottles. Well, Tiesto loved Sea Smoke. He's like, this is great. I love this wine. Where'd you get it? And that following year, I did the big show on Governor's Island with Tiesto for July 4th. And the rider comes. He wants a case of Sea Smoke. I'm like, oh my God. It's not overly expensive, but like you can't find it. It's not a big vineyard.
Okay.
And they don't really, not a lot of it makes its way to the East Coast. I joined the club, when I was out there one time. So I get my, fulfillment every year. But we had to go around to, I'm telling you, probably 25 different liquor stores, New York, New Jersey, just to find. And in the end, I don't think we got 12 bottles. I think we scraped up like 8.
Right.
I think I drank 4.
And he didn't notice, so it's good.
But yeah, stuff like that, but the 2 outrageous.
There you go. Tara Martell says cherries forever.
Oh, Tara. I miss Tara. Hello, Tara. I miss you so much.
And DJ Spawn says it's time to take the shows to Jersey. What are you thinking?
Well, we did that. We did the shore. We did Joey's down there, surf club. We did some stuff. I don't know if you remember, we did West Orange. We did that 466. People talk about that all the time. There's this little club. Yeah, it was like a catering hall place. It was in West Orange. And it was like about a half hour, 30, 40 minutes outside for Pasha. And I had Steve Angelo. I had Afrojack. I mean, I remember, oh my gosh, we have Ryan and Sunnery there. We had Chucky there. Oh my God, there's more. But we would get these guys to go play in Jersey. They do a set, and then we would bring them, and they would go play Pasha. And they'd be like, "Well, where are we going?" I'm like, "Oh, it's like a half hour. Don't worry, it's a quick little gig, And it was always so funny trying to try to make that a positive thing,
Right. That's funny. Hi, Karen Lala says she remembers.
Yes, she would remember. She's part of our team. She would remember for sure.
That's hysterical. Cool. All right, let's talk about the sucky last year. Especially for club owners, for DJs, for all the crews that work it. I mean, what do we do? Like, how's it looking on your end? I mean, are you getting any kind of sense of when we do open up the clubs and nightlife and events again, that people are going to bounce back to these things? Or,
well, I mean, a couple. First of all, like at the beginning, I hadn't taken a deep breath in probably 15 years.
Yeah,
pressures, the clubs, this, So I say the first couple weeks, we didn't know what's going on. It was a little chaotic. I settled in. I'm like, you know what? This is pretty cool. I mean, I could. I can get used to this a little bit. Like I could use a little rest, recharge the battery, and everyone in my world was in the same boat. So I could relax it. No one was winning or getting an advantage. So I calmed myself down a little bit. And then, I play golf over the years, a couple times a year, not a lot. And I started playing a little more golf, having fun, playing with friends of mine I hadn't seen in years. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But now it's gotten cold out. You can't golf. I'm going fucking crazy. I've been going crazy for the last 2 months. Like I'm really like, I gotta, so I do spend a lot of time talking to other promoters, other club owners. I have friends at Live Nation. I have friends at AEG. In New York, it's Bowery. I talk to the agents from the various agencies, a few of the managers, a few of the art. So I really, during the day, I keep myself busy. I'm just staying in touch with everyone. And I spoke to one of the top agents today, one of the big agencies, and everyone's looking towards the fall. I mean, it's still 9 months away.
Yeah.
But to get these things going, it takes time. Honestly, for tours, you might not even see like a tour till 2022 because all the logistics, the different rules and laws and states and countries and stringing them together, until there's a confidence with a lot of people, there's going to be uncertainty. Me personally, hopefully get this vaccine going. We're all watching the same newscasts. We're all hearing the same reports. So there's no advantages there. Nope. I think that by the spring, you might start seeing some stuff popping up. New York, we've been the most stringent, but something tells me something's going to break here in the coming weeks or months where we're going to get a little window to start ramping up again. And I think once we start ramping up, I kind of feel like it's going to come back quicker than people think. New York's resilient. People, you look at the illegal things. They're all packed. You look at Miami, anywhere where you can go. People are flying from Europe. They're coming in, they're quarantining just to be where they can live their lives. Right. And, if Miami can do it, Florida can do it. I don't see why these other states aren't pro being open. And I guess our illustrious governor the other day said, we got to open up. We got to open safe. We got to open up, smart. Where have you heard that before, right? I've been doing it so long. Like, that's all anyone's asking for. No one wants to open and kill people, right?
Right.
But there's measures we can take. And for those that are scared or threatened, they have a choice to stay home. Yes. So, I've been a proponent of getting opening sooner than later. But that doesn't mean rush back. That doesn't mean carelessness. I just think we have to, instead of being so focused on shutdown, we need to be more focused on opening. And there's a big difference there. But for the mindset in our state is arguably the worst of any of the states in the country. So, who knows if that's political or not, but remarkably the other day, our governor has a full 180 turn and now he's, we got to get open because there's going to be nothing left. Well, I don't know if the last time he's drove to fucking Manhattan, but,
right. There's nothing left.
I guess if they write everybody crazy checks and these businesses can reopen, but, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I will say this, I've been actively looking. I'm looking at venues right now, opportunities of opening up additional venues, bigger venues. I have a sports bar. Again, I'm a big sports guy. I have a really great sports bar concept that I've been working on for a couple of years now, and I actually got a lease the other day for this in Manhattan. And so we're working through all the details of the lease. I have 2 other spots in Manhattan. One I have a verbal agreement on. I'm just waiting for the tenant to officially vacate. And then there's a third spot that I looked at that I've been looking at for a long, long time. Also for the Irish sports bar concept. So I could do both, or maybe I'll just pick one or the other. But so I'm actively looking, and that goes with I'm cautiously optimistic. I think there are going to be less places when we reopen. A lot of these places just won't come back.
Yeah.
But I do believe in New York, I have zero doubt that New York will be booming again someday. A year, 2, 3 years. I don't know. I do believe people are going to be back in their offices. Maybe the offices are smaller. You have 1 floor instead of 2 floors. There's definitely going to be a correction there. Right. I think that I'm bullish. And I can't wait to get back to work. I miss the people. I miss people enjoying themselves in my place. That's, to me, Yeah, I see, Jay. That's a good point, Jay. I do think that there's going to be a renaissance. Will we ever have a big club in like Posh again in New York? Just, I don't know. That's tough because of, again, the demographics changing and the way community boards and stuff. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if you're going to get that. I think what we do is going to be more of a concert business. I think it's going to be more live and more concert. The day of that meandering multi-level nightclub, I don't know about that coming back. The kids today, they don't see that part. It's not really culture to them.
Right.
It's instant gratification. It's just a different world we live in. That's not to say if we did a Jonathan Peters reunion, it wouldn't be great, I mean, my God, an Eric Merlo classics. Could you imagine? That's something I wanted to do. So it's definitely going to be. I'm bullish, and I think it'll be back. I think the likes Live Nation and these guys, the bigger are going to get bigger. They're going to get stronger because there's just going to be less competition. But I do see room and opportunity for independent guys before all these tours kick off. You may see Pearl Jam playing Terminal 5. You may see like David Guetta saying, you know what? I will play Szymanski. I wouldn't last year, year before, but now that'd be cool for me to play for my real core hardcore fans. And that's what I'm pushing for. That's what I'm talking to the agents every day and pushing, to get things going. Can we get some of these bigger name guys to come play to smaller places just to light the fuse again and just, really satisfy the people that are real true hardcore fans of this stuff,
Yeah, no, I think that's actually how it's going to start again. I mean, a lot of people do believe it's going to be like the Roaring '20s because after the last pandemic and people are just going to be, but I think there's still going to be a lot of interpretation there about going out for a lot of people. And what you hit upon like the youth, you're right. They're used to this all day long or playing on their video games and locking themselves in a room. And they're not the kind of people that'll even go to a diner or a restaurant anymore. They're more like, I'll order in. Everything's in my house now. So to go out, I think that, that's a tough thing for them.
Yeah. And listen, I think you can apply that to every bracket, everyone views this differently. I heard a guy today say it's never going to go away. And that's always been my belief. It's a virus. It's an airborne virus. It's never going away. The sooner we all learn to manage and live with it. I mean, all this complete shutdown to me was, I'll predict again, a year, 2, 5, 10 years from now, we're going to be told the shutdown was wrong and masks were wrong. There's going to be a whole new view of this coming back. Masks don't make a difference. That's just the way things are, and I'm not making an opinion as a doctor. I'm just saying that it wouldn't surprise me. Like, I don't see how sitting in your house really, people's lost their businesses, their livelihoods, and it's not fair. And anything short of 100% bailout of all these businesses is just not equitable. And, whose life, you saved someone's life by staying home, but you killed a guy's life by keeping him home. And so where's the balance in that? And that's where the failure all along here has been there's no balance. And the only way to fix it is with some balance. I think you're going to see January 21st, balance will start happening.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
No, I mean, in New York, it's weird to me that they're closing bars at 10 o'clock. They're closing restaurants at 10 o'clock. It's like, what's the point of that? Like, people have been sitting there for 4 hours anyway. So
no point. It's you could rack yourself silly thinking about it. There's what we've learned here is our politicians are boobs. Just because they're elected doesn't mean they're smarter than the average guy, and they have egos, right? I mean, how could anybody sit through a Cuomo press conference? It's just unbearable, and I mean, the guy's been wrong. He writes a book, but he's pontificating, lecturing. It's sick. It's mentally sick. It's sick, and he's destroyed our counties, our state, and New York City. So many people, their lives. I mean, they're never going to recover. I mean. Great,
it's definitely tough.
You feel better about yourself, but it to me wasn't effective, and it needed a balanced approach all along. And people in America should be able to make their own choices and respect one another. And we're going to have people, John, that are going to come into a bar or restaurant a year from now, and they're going to have 3 masks on, and they're going to be screaming at you because you don't have a mask on. Like, it's created this whole environment now where you have people that are just these maskers that they're just going to be mad. They're going to be mad. And, everyone's just got to learn to get along and respect one another. And everyone has different views on things. And, it's as a business guy, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm lucky, I didn't apply for the Barstool thing because I know there's people that needed more than me, but we wouldn't qualify for that. But,
yeah, no, we're a country of extremes right now, and we just need to pull it back to the middle some, that's all.
Yeah, I know. I hope we can. It's because that equates to everything, really.
Yeah. All right. We have a question from the Soup Kitchen. Do you think venues will require a vaccination proof for entry?
My guess is in New York, they probably will. They probably will here. And don't stop there. I mean, this is the big question. Will we get open anytime? Yeah. But what's the new normal? What's the building department going to say? Like a venue that held 3,000 people. Are they going to say, because it's a formula. When you get a permit for a venue, there's a formula. They figure out how many people are fit in there legally and safely. Are they going to change the formula that now only 1,500 people can go?
Right.
Now you can't do an event there because it's math. You got to, the numbers all have to work. My club, Chamansky, I think it's like, say 800. Well, they come back and say you can open, but you can only do 400 people, I don't know what they're going to say. Are you going to need a vaccination? What is the proof of the vaccination? Now it's going to be up to the club owner. It's bad enough we have to be responsible for a driver's license. Is it fake? Is it real? And now we have to, is it, how long before? I mean, if I'm a promoter, I'm out there printing up fake vaccination reports.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's a new business for somebody. I just gave a few of my promoters an idea. Forget the.
Don't do that.
But again, I think any business owner at this stage is so desperate to open, if they even have a little bit of a business left at all,
right?
That we're going to do whatever we have to do. So I think that I don't think in Florida you have to show a vaccine proof. I saw yesterday, that Live Nation, at least initially, is going to demand proof of a vaccination, 24 hours, 48 hours.
Really?
I mean, there's every one of these things has layers to it. And then on the other flip side of that, it has accountability, responsibility, and liability. So if I'm letting people into my club and they have vaccination proof, okay, I'm doing my job. Suddenly, we find out a couple days later, someone had COVID and other people got in the club. Are the other people in the club going to do a joint action suit and sue the club?
Right.
Because you're responsible. You were supposed to check. I'm going to say, well, here it is. Do we keep the reports when they come in? Do we have to staple a copy of their driver's license? Do we have to,
crazy. Yeah, that could be crazy.
That's the other shoe that's dropping that is most concerning to me, is what is being open going to look like, even when we're at 100%, so, I wouldn't be shocked. At least initially.
Right. Huh. Well, let's hope it doesn't get to that.
Yeah, we don't know. That's, in the way our governor and our mayor operate, that didn't surprise me.
I hear you. Ray's laughing.
She's heard this before.
I'm sure.
She's definitely heard this before.
All right, Eddie. So you're still talking to everybody, and you seeing any musical trends that are going to be interesting in the coming, year or two?
Man, I'll tell you, what was going good, man? We really got a great groove. I've assembled a great team of promoters at Chamansky. We got into this whole Afro beats vibe there, this whole cultural musical hip hop vibe, and a little reggae, and like that whole sort of family of music. And it was going good, man. It was really interesting, and that to me was great. I just think you're going to see more and more artists crossing over, EDM guys with hip hop guys. You're just going to see a lot of collabs moving forward, interesting collabs. It's really it's really going to be all about blending sounds, I think. But don't sleep on that whole Afro beat scene. I know, John, you're always out there signing music ahead of everybody. Why don't you tell the story about back in 97, 98, when you played a song at our little saloon, our little neighborhood pub in Bay Ridge.
Yeah, it was probably around 2000. Well, it's probably 98, 99. Yeah.
What song was it?
That was Castles in the Sky by Ian Van
Right,
Dahl.
yeah, yep.
So
Right.
what happened was, I worked for a record label, and earlier in the day, I was looking at some DJ playlists, and I saw a song, and I was like, I don't know what this is. Let me check it out. So I checked it out. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll try this tonight. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
So I play it, and all of a sudden, every woman in the room is singing along with it. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know music.
Every girl in the room and Roddy were singing.
Play Ghetto Superstar whenever he comes in.
That's right. And that was my song.
No, your song was Radar Love, I think. Like Golden
That was
Earring.
a good one. Yeah, that was a good one.
So anyway, I play it in the club night. Everyone's singing, and I was like, wait a minute. I don't know this record, and yet everybody else knows this. How's this happening? Right. So I bring it back, and 2 months later, we signed the record, and it becomes a massive, massive hit. And actually,
who was the artist?
That was Ian Van Dahl.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. Which is a weird thing because it's a woman and it's a man's name. So, but that's a whole different story. Yeah.
Wow.
But it was like that created that record to be signed in America and to become a big hit. Right. And it just came out of a little bar in Brooklyn. And we had a few of those. I played Cascada there first. I played a lot of records before they got signed. So it was definitely a fun time.
I remember you said, I have a girl. She's very talented. We got to let her do a show.
Yeah.
Raquel.
I was Raquel. Raquel, who had
I remember
three hot 100 hits. Yeah. She had 3 Hot 100 hits.
And if we remember back then, we had our little bars and we were doing, we had Judy Torres. Remember that we were doing all those Judy Torres, CNC Music Factory, was LaBouche.
Yeah.
We were doing all those acts back then.
It was all Rock and Jock, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, totally fun. Those are good times back then. But here's the big question. Who was a better DJ, me or Carrie Vance?
Oh, boy. Let me say, you were definitely the most reliable. You were the most reliable for sure. And you definitely complained much less about your pay.
There you go.
Another thing, okay? Carrie Vance, hey, Eddie, I got 2 extra tickets to the Met game. I'm like, okay, cool. That's $100. No, he was a better DJ. Sorry, he's not here to defend himself.
I know. He was a better DJ technically. I was a better playing the music that people actually wanted to hear. So
yeah. You broke more artists than he did.
There you go. See, very cool, Eddie. It's been a pleasure. So
it's so good to see you, John.
Good to see you as well.
You're doing what you love. I love that, man. It's so glad. I follow everything you do, everything you post. I watch out.
Thank you.
On you.
No, absolutely. We got a draft to do in March, so our baseball rotisserie.
We've been doing the baseball draft. I mean, we had a hiatus, but do you remember the first year we did fantasy baseball?
Well, I started that league in '92, but we probably started in '96 or '7.
Yeah. So 23 years. We had a little hiatus.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
but still, I mean, every time I see Geronimo, I love to tell him I love to kick his ass every year.
He's the worst. I don't think he's ever won, has he?
Make sure he stays in the league, though. He pays every year.
Yeah. He's one of the few. Cool.
All right, John. Thanks.
All right, Eddie. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye. All right, everybody. That was the wonderful Mr. Eddie Dean from, he does DEG events. He's doing shows all over New York once we open up and actually the world now. So it was really kind of cool. I'd love to rate out on Twitch, but I can't figure out how to do it on StreamYard. So I'm going to have to learn to do that. And I got my phone here and I'm looking and I can't figure that out either. So I would rate someone, but maybe next week, next Thursday. And next Thursday, we have the Queen of Freestyle on, Miss Judy Torres. So come on back for that. Any guests that you want to suggest, we'll go after them. And that's it for this week. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you all my Twitch people, my Facebook people, and I will see you next week. Bye.